All right, the session is being recorded. Good morning, everyone. Today, as we all know that on the 16th, we are going to write your third semester test, which is semester test 3. And it's going to cover from lecture 8 up to lecture 16. So the purpose of this class today is for us to revise what you guys go through, so that you'll be by the time when you write your semester test, you feel that you are prepared. So I'm going to share my screen. So for today, what you are going to do today, we are going to revise 2019 past paper. So I'm going to share the past paper now with you. So let me share my screen. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Can everyone see my screen from that side? Okay, yeah, I'm going to open my paper. Okay, perfect. Let me zoom a little bit. Okay, I'm sure everyone can see my screen. If you can see my screen, just show by raising your hand so that I can see we are together. Just show by raising your hands, because I've seen a lot of yes. I don't know which yes is this one for now. So just show by raising your hand so that I can know that everyone can see my screen here. Seems like no one can see my screen. Can you all see my screen? If you can see my screen, just show by raising your hand so that you can be able to start. Because I can't start if you can't see my screen. So if you can see my screen, just show by raising your hand. Okay, it's fine. I'm going to get started now. So I'm going to open 2019 semester test. On 2019, they wrote it as semester test 2 because the practical was semester test 3, which is just a little bit different from what you guys doing, but it's actually the same thing, just that on this year it was called semester test 2. So don't get confused with where it is written. It's just last year or 2019 it was semester test 2. Okay, perfect. Let me just make it a little bit bigger so that everyone can see. Okay, cool. Okay, we are going to start with the first question. So the first question, it was for graphical user interface. If you check in your notes, the topic where you guys learned about the graphical user interface, it was lesson 8. That's when you learned about the graphical user interface. So remember back then when you're doing practicals, we did a lot of things for graphical user interface. So I'm sure this topic is going to be walk over to everyone. Today I'm going to move a little bit fast because we won't be able to finish, because I'm trying to finish the whole question paper. So it's like consists of 6 questions. I'm trying to finish it so that by the end of this lesson everyone could benefit something. So the first question, it was say besides JavaFX, provide the full name of the other 2 graphical user interface frameworks available in Java. So what you're going to do today, I'm going to read the question, then you guys, you give me the answers, then after that we discuss about that so that you benefit from at the end of this class. So what I'd like you to do is to write on the message other two graphical user interface frameworks available in Java. So I'm going to give you 1 minute to do that. Oh, someone already did that. Okay, we've got AWT, we've got Swing. Yeah, that's very correct. And for asset UJ, we learn about JavaFX, but it's important to know other two. If you open previous papers, you see that before JavaFX, they were learning about AWT. And I'm not going to discuss more why they prefer JavaFX more than AWT, because We discussed it last time when you're doing the practicals, and if you're checking the notes, the information is there for that one. All right, it's fine. I'm going to go to the other question. Discuss the changes required to the main class below in order for it to become a JavaFX application. So we can see here we've got the normal class which we know, and now they're asking us to see if we can know the difference between this class and the JavaFX one, the one we're doing over and over again. We know that if you check in the notes, it's just something where you can see, okay, these things I know, but it's very important for you to practice this question, because I know when it comes to writing, you're going to forget about this one. So let me just quickly open my notepad or my effect, my I don't have notepad installed in this commission. Let me see if I've got a notepad plus plus installed, then we can do everything on notepad. Oh yes, notepad plus plus. Extend the application include the start method public void start stage throws exception. Oh, that's perfect. Thank you, M. Sivanda. I was going to write that question down, but you already gave us how you're going to do it. So if you don't know how to do it, please go to your topic, your lesson 8. If you don't know how to do it, please go to lesson 8. This is lecture 8, and see how to write this class. It's very important to know how to do it, because when it comes to class, when it comes to writing your exam, you won't be able to realize, to remember everything. So if you don't know, please go and check how you're supposed to write, which is something of this. So this was the answer to the question we're doing. So this was the answer to the question. So just have to do this one. Then also you have to make sure that you launch. Don't forget to launch. And at the end, you have to show your stage. After everything, you have to show your stage. The title is not that important. As long as you've got this information, you will be fine. You will be fine. So you might need to know where the marks were coming from. So the marks were coming from 1 mark. It was for extend application. So this was 1 mark for extending application, because you can see that it's 5 marks. And then 1 mark for call the launch. So this was another 1 mark. And then the other one for override. Don't forget this override. Then the other one was for override. I can see from Spanda, I can see that you didn't do override on what you send on the message. So don't forget to do the override, because the override, it had like 1 mark for that one, and then the other one for setting the scene, which was this one, and then the last one was for showing the scene. So 1 mark, 1 mark, 1 mark here, 1 mark, and last mark for extending application. So that's where all the 5 marks were coming from. All right, next question. Let's go to next question. Next question. Name any 3 layout managers found in JavaFX. Can you just quickly write on the message any 3? There are a lot of them. Can you just quickly write only 3, then we discuss about them. Then we'll go to the next question. Any 3, any 3, any 3. Butterpen, Flowpen, Canvas. Okay, can you consider Canvas as a grid pen, Flowpen, Hbox, Vbox? Yes. Yes, that's correct. That's very correct. And do you have to consider Canvas, because I can see someone gave us a border pen, floor pen, and Canvas. Because Canvas is okay. If I'm to writing this one, I would rather not prefer considering Canvas, because Canvas is just where we go and do our drawings. Because Canvas, JavaFX Canvas, I don't know if it was going to score or not, but I would rather prefer doing something like a floor pen, border pen, grid pen, hbox, and step pen. Yes, that's very true, Spanda. Okay, thank you. Let's go to the next question. Question 2 is say, can a print writer be used to write binary data? Provide a reason for your answer. So on this question, how this question was marked, if you just say maybe, if you just say yes and you don't give an answer, even for example, if yes is correct, you're not going to get marks because you assume that you are just guessing. So for you to get all the full marks, it was for you, for example, if it's yes, then you say yes, then you give the reason, and if it is no, then you say no, then you give the reason why you're saying no. Okay, so the question is, can a print writer be used to write binary data? Provide the reason for your answer. Oh, I'm seeing people, they're sending messages on Discord saying, am I going to send the question paper after? I'm not going to send the question paper. So if you feel like there's something you need on this question paper, you can take pictures from your side, but I'm not going to share the question paper with you. But you can always refer to the recording because today I'm recording, which is different from last time. Okay. So as they say, canvas is actually more okay. Because you just say because, is it here or no? Because I can see that because we can't just pass shapes. And oh, you're referring to the last question. I thought you're doing this question. So we are on question 2, Banda. Let's go to question 2. Can a print writer be used to write binary data? Provide the reason for your answer. I'm just waiting for one answer. I'm just waiting for one answer from anyone, then we can proceed. No print writer is used for writing the text file. Okay. Zondo. Okay. Now it does not sterilize. Okay. All right, it's fine. The answer was no, because print writer can only write textual data. That was the reason. And then binary files operate on bytes or bits or binary. So yeah, so that was the reason. So the answer is no, because binary files operate on bytes or binary. And then print writer can only write textual data. So the answer was no. So print writer is used for writing text file. Oh, that's very correct, Mzondo. That's very correct. So that was the answer. So the answer was no, and because print writer can only write textual data. Let's go to the next question. Provide a canonical full name of the interface which a class must implement in order for the class to be retained in file with an object output stream. The answer is I can see someone was just close to answer, which was M-tensor or something like that. The answer was about serializable. So for that one, the full name or something like this. Let me start something new here. Okay, it's fine. So the name what you wanted something like java.io dot serializable. Serializable. So this was the answer for that question, which was question B, which states that provide the full canonical name of interface which class must implement in order for the class to be returned to a file with an object output stream. Okay, it's fine. So we're done with this question. We're going to question 3. Let me see something. Oh, you gave us the answer. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, you see, husband, you see some students are already preparing. Is that you? You see Mzonda, Masondo, he's already prepared for the semester test. I can see. It's very good, guys, to go and prepare because if you check on this paper, if you go here, you can see that it was only 1 hour from 2 to 4. It was only 1 hour to complete. So you should make sure that, you see, session is starting from 2 to 5, it was 1 hour. I'm not sure about yours, but it's usually more or less the same. So it's very important to make sure that you are prepared enough because it's only 1 hour to, it might be 1 hour or 1 hour 30. I don't know how big is going to be your paper. So it's very important to make sure that you know everything. Otherwise, you're not gonna finish. All right. Let's go to question. Let's go to question 3. We are talking about advanced Java programming. So on advanced Java programming, So guys, as we go through the whole paper, we can see that there are coming questions from each and every topic which you went through. So it's actually very important for you to know. So it's actually very important for you guys to know what this topic is it about and what is this topic is about, because once you know the topic, it's going to be easy for you to know. Okay, once you heard about the binary file, once you heard about the binary input output, you know what was the topic, what was the lesson all about, and then it helps you not to answer something which is out of topic. Okay, let's go to question 3. Question 3 is says, okay, before we go to question 3, one of the most important things we have to know on the binary input output stream, you have to know about the data input stream, data output stream, serializable class, etc. So if I come here, let me just quickly go back to lecture 9 notes. Oops. Okay. Just one more minute. Okay, so if you come here on your lecture 9, if you come here on your lecture 9, we can see that you've got different types of codes, where the code for this one was file input output stream, and then this one was file input stream. It's very important for you guys when you're preparing your semester test. Make sure that you know these steps. You don't necessarily have to cram. Make sure that you know the steps of file input stream. Make sure that you know the steps for data output stream, and also make sure that you know the steps for data input stream. The reason why I'm saying you should make sure that you know this code is, if you go, for example, on the last question, let's go to the last question, there's this fill in code. They just take a fill in code from one of these ones. You see, this one's data object file handler. So they just take any question from that one. So you have to make sure that you know any of those, because the fill in question is going to come from this information, which is data input stream, data output stream, serializable class, data input stream, etc. So make sure that you know all the steps. Serializable class, it can come. Data output stream, it can come, and you have to complete, and then they just give you a code. We are going to see when you go there, a code where you have to complete. You can see from this code you have to complete here data return pattern, then you have to know what you have to return, which is almost your semester test 2, where you guys you were learning about the matches and regex. So this one, that's where it came from. It came from patterns, and it comes from different things. So it comes from all what I gave you here. It comes from any of these ones. Okay, it's fine. Let's go to the next question. So we're on question 3. So the question 3, it was saying, list 2 requirements that an object needs to follow in order to become an event listener. So what are the 2 requirements here on question 3? Just quickly write them on the messages, then we go through. It seems like everyone is lost here. Okay, thank you, Slanda. The object must be registered with the source object. Yes. And then the other one, you say the object must realize appropriate event handler interface. So when a source object is interacted with an event, is fired to the listener, and the object passes it to the event handler, which passes it to the handler method. Yes, that's very correct. So 1 mark for saying object must realize appropriate event listener interface. Then another mark for saying object must be registered with source object. So this was the 2 marks. So I don't have a reason to say it. If you don't know it, you can just ask Spanda, or you can just take a picture from what she said, because this is the correct answer. This was the correct answer. All right, we can move on. Then with regards to multi-threading in Java, describe what happens when thread use. Okay, when you go to threads, which was topic lecture 15, we learned a lot of things on threads. You have to know about thread yielding, you have to know about thread sleeping, you have to know about thread joining. So we've got 3 things. So On your paper, it might become asking you about the thread slipping. It might become asking about the thread joining. But in this paper, it came as a thread use. So it's saying with regards to multi-threading in Java, describe what happens when the threads use. Okay, what happens when the threads use? Let's go to lesson 15. So if you go to lesson 15 on last pages, so around page 20, let me see, on the last pages on page 20, that's where we see about the threads used and thread slipping. So here on the page 20, that's where you can see about the yielding of the thread and slipping. So the question, it says, with regards to multi-threading in Java, describe what happens when the threads use. So what happens when the threads use? If we come here, we can see that use allows a thread to temporarily release the CPU so that the other threads may be given a chance to complete their task. So yield is called a static method threads.yield. So this was the answer to that question. So this is what happens when the threads use. So when the threads use, yield allows a thread to temporarily release a CPU so that other threads may be given the chance to complete their task. Okay, so this was our question. This was the answer to the threads used. Okay, and then you don't have to claim exactly about thread using. Go through, read everything, read about sleeping. You have to know what happens when the thread sleeps. Go through again. You have to know about the thread joining. I'm sure that your last practical or during your last practical, you're going to focus more on the threads. You have to know everything, threads joining, etc. So yeah, you have to know this other more information, because the purpose of this class is for us at the end so that you know what exactly you have to know. All right, it's fine. Let's go to the next question. The next question, it was about design patterns and UML. All right, this topic, I'm sure it's going to be interesting to everyone, because I know during your second semester test, you get your practical test, you draw the UML diagram, and you've been drawing the UML diagram to show everything. So what is important on the design patterns? What do you have to know when it comes to design patterns? Firstly, what you have to know when it comes to design patterns, we know that there are about 21 design patterns, but we have only learned something like 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's just say close to 9 design patterns. Because when you go on internet, you're going to see a lot of them, but it's very important just to know the ones you will learn, which are about 9 or 10 of them out of the whole 21. So you just have to know what you have learned in class. So on this question, what they want us to say, they say provide a UML class diagram for the facade design patterns applied to the following program. You have been asked to assess the Lagos flight information system that has 3 classes. Client requires unified way interacting with these classes without making changes to existing class. All right, so the first question you should ask yourself when you see something like this, you should first know the facade design patterns. We've got 3 categories of design patterns. We've got behavioral design patterns, we've got structural design patterns, we've got creational design patterns. So you first have to know which this design pattern I'm being asked about, it falls under which category. So just quick. So when it comes to facade design patterns, can you just quickly write on the message to tell us will be the design patterns identified for you? Yes, might be identified because they will need you to give the UML diagram, because if you check on these questions banda, you can see that they gave you the name of the design patterns, and only what they want now is the UML diagram for this design patterns. So once you know all the design patterns and know their diagrams, it's going to be easy for you to have a clear or a rough idea on what are you going to write based on this class. Even before you read all the information, you already have an idea on how you're supposed to draw the facade design pattern, which is very important for you. So as Ondo say, it's structural. Okay, yes, it's structural. Okay, so what you have to know, what is our structural design patterns? Structural design patterns are concerned with how classes and objects are composed to form larger structures. So when you're talking about structure, we're concerned on how classes and objects are composed to form larger structures. And we have behavioral design patterns. These are concerned with algorithms in the assessment and assignment of responsibility between objects. And we have the other one, which are creational design patterns. You have to know creational. You have to know we all have two types of creational design patterns, which we learn in class, which are object pool and abstract factory. So when you go and prepare, go and do the rest of the design patterns and know which they belongs to, because from another paper I once came across, they can even tell you to list for example structural design patterns, and then you explain how they work. Like for example, something like this. If you come here on your notes on the design pattern, let me take part 2, which we learned about on part 2, which we learned about the structural. So sometimes it might be important to describe, for example, let's go to adapter. You have to know something like maybe when to use the when, you have to know kind of this information. But what is very important on this topic is for you to be able to reproduce this diagram when it comes to writing your semester test, and then you'll be fine. All right. So I was trying to share my whiteboard, but unfortunately I couldn't share my whiteboard because I can't join two devices. I wanted to draw it on my tablet so that you can see. So the best I'm going to do, I'm going to try to edit this one on the notes, then I send it to you how it's going to look like. Okay, so let me download these notes and then I'll try to edit here. All right, let's go to facade, which is this one in this case. Okay, so our class was going to be something like this, but this class, the name of this class, if you come here on the notes, not on the notes, on the past paper, you're learning about the facade. I've got 3 classes, which is altimeter, barometer, thermometer, and on top of those classes, we have more information, which is talking about the flight sensor. So what you're going to do here, you have been asked to flight information that you have 3 classes identified without making changes to existing class. So what you're going to do here, we are going to have something of this type. Let's come here. I'm going to rename this one. Let me see if I can use a different color. Let me use red here. So you're going to have something of this out. So you're going to have this class in our question is going to be something of this. Then we have to cancel out this one. Yeah, so it's going to be something of this. And then this one is going to be what this one? This one is going to be barometer. Barometer. Sorry for spelling. Barometer. And then this one is going to be the last class, which was thermometer. Thermometer. So this one is going to be thermometer. So this one is going to be thermometer, and then this client is going to be there. let me just, you can just add a keyword here, something like this one. Maybe you can say uses, and then this class, this one, the connection is still fine. And then on this one, the facade one, we're going to call it, let's see the best name we can call it from here. So provide a UML diagram for facade design patterns applied for the front view. You've been given access to Legas flight information. So basically what you're talking about here, you can see that there are sensors here, because they are sensoring. There's a barometer, thermometer, altimeter. I don't know which measures altitude, and then the barometer which measures pressure, and then this one which measures temperature. So we can see that you're talking about the sensors here. So the best name we can give to this class, let's just call it flight sensor facade. So this class, let's call it this one. Let's call it flight sensor facade, something like this. So this will be our class, right? So we can see. So if you're to write it, it was going to be something of this. Don't forget to delete this subclass system A, subclass system B. So yeah, it was going to be something of this type. And after, when you have something of this type, now you need to put the operations inside here. You need to put the operations. Then now that's when we have to. So you can see that this was like basically 10 full free marks. So once you know the design patterns, you have to know that it's certain that you now have something, and now we have to write the information about this one. I'll always prefer using this keyword so that they can see that I know what I'm doing here. Use this one uses this one, and then I can also use that keyword here. Use this. Yeah, because what we are saying all these classes, they uses the flight sensor facade. So this one they uses, and then this one it uses client, so which is something clear. Let me just quickly go to the messages before we finish off. Free marks. Oh yeah, these are free marks, but they're only gonna be free marks if you know all the classes, because it's not definite that it's going to be facade. It might become a different thing, maybe an observer, maybe a command. So make sure that you know these diagrams by head. So these are all dependency relationship, yes. How can you, and then you have to know which other ones uses, for example, which use extends, which use composition, etc. You have to know those kind of relationship, uh, different between composition and the other one. What's this one? Yeah, you know all those kind of relationships. And then you have extends, you've got composition, you've got aggregation. Yes, that's very true. Okay. So I think there are no messages here. All right. How can you see which one is facade and which one is subclass? All right. So from your question here, let's go to question paper. From the question paper, we can see that, okay, since obviously we're talking about the facade, these classes are being inherited, or they are coming from the main class, which is the one we called flight sensor. We call it what do you call it, our class here? We call it flight sensor facade. So yeah. So let's finish off. Let's now write the methods inside the class. So let's now write the method inside. Okay, so let's start with this one. Let's start with this one. So this is now where the tricky party might come to you, a little bit challenging part, where you now have to know how the facade work and what you have to write inside. So I'm going to start with the operation here. Let's start with the operation here. So the operation here, I'm going to call to make it a positive because it's a public. So it's a public, and then it's called gets altitude, get altitude readings, and then get altitude readings. Let me go back and see. Get altitude readings, and then we've got sensor count inside altitude reading. And then don't forget that whenever you're writing this one, first you have to start with something like this, sensor count, and then it's of type int, okay? Of type int, and does it return here? Yes, it's of type int, and it returns a double. So it's of type int, yeah, and it returns a double, okay? Which is going to return a double, something like this. Let me make my handwriting a little bit smaller, and let me do this. Yeah, so I'm sure we can also see. Let me enlarge a little bit and increase the font a little bit so that everyone can see. Okay, so this was our method here. So the class is called altimeter, and then another class which is for pressure. So let me do this. Okay, it's fine. Let's come here. Let's do the other one. So the other one is gauge pressure. Take this one, and then let me just change this one, this part. So this one was for pressure. So you have this one for gauge pressure, and then the last one was gauge temperature. Everything looks the same except this one is got gauge temperature reading. So this one is now gauge temperature reading. So this one, so this one's gauge temperature reading. Yeah, there we go. So this is what we're supposed to do. So this was the class, and we are not done yet. One thing left. What's one thing left here? Now we've got these three classes which are the child class of the parent class, which is flight sensor first aid. And now remember that when you're in this class, we now have to code these classes, and you now have to be able to get access to these classes or to reference these classes. And then you can see here, there's a method here. What method are we going to say? Or just quickly give me an example of what method you think you can be able to just put in this class so that everything makes sense. So this was another 1 mark where people were not getting that. Yes, sensor count. That's actually good. Okay, so on this one, let's have something like this. Let's have something like this. And now let me call this one get sensor reading because he wants to get them. You've got three sensors here, which is for altimeter, barometer, and temperature. So I'm going to call mine get sensor readings, and then yeah, something of this. Get sensor reading. Yeah, so you can have something of this type. So yeah. Because on this one, it's not that 100% clear that you should have exactly the same as this one, because if you check here on the notes, if you check here on your paper, they didn't give us a method to write on the facade parent class. So it's just for you to be able to formulate something which will be making sense, because what you'll be making here, remember, it's not going to be the same exactly, but what is important is does it make sense? You understand? All right, it's fine. Anyone with a question before we go forward? All right, list. It depends how you're going to write your question, or if it makes sense, then it's going to be fine. Remember, we don't have a method in the notes, so we just need to see something so that we can see that you know what you're writing, because there is nothing. Because even if you check on this example, it didn't show us that this is an array. Just give us an operation, which is unified operation, and then they have the operations of the operations here. So it's not basically like it have to be an array or something, because even if you check on your notes, it was just something which was showing you that there should be a method. So what is just important is for you to give us a method. You understand? Yeah. All right. Seems like everyone is happy. Are we all happy here? If you are happy, just show by thumbs up so that you can see that you are together here. Yeah, just show by thumbs up. Don't raise your hand, because I'm not going to answer the question. Okay, it's fine. Thank you. Let's go to the second question. To the next question, which was question 5. So for question 5, is saying Java source code for the following program. You can assume that all the relevant packages have been imported. Given the main class, provide the code for a class called reminder task. Reminder task must print the reminder text to the standard output stream as fixed intervals a certain number of times. The reminder text interval and the number of times are set in the constructor. So we already know where are we going to set our stuff here. They said, let me try to see if I can highlight keywords here. All right. Okay, so they said they should be set. So whenever you're reading, what is important is for you to highlight and know what exactly are you going to do, because this is 10 marks. And then remember, you should expect fill in code, and then the code where you have to complete the code. Something like what you guys have when you're writing your semester test 1. Yeah, so you should expect something like that, and then the fill in code. All right. So they say provide a Java source code for the following program. You can assume that all the relevant packages have been imported given the main class. We already given the main class. Provide the code for the class called reminder task. So this is the name of the class which you're going to use. This is the name of the class. All right. So this is the name of the class. And then reminder task must print the reminder text to the standard output stream as fixed intervals. So standard output stream as a fixed intervals a certain number of times. The remainder text interval and the number of times are set in a constructor. So we already know that our constructor is going to have something, and you're going to set something in the constructor. So let's get started. I'm going to write this question down. Let me do something like this. Let me see the best I can do here. Let me take this main so that you can see whenever you're going where we are going. And then let me do something like this. Okay, cool. So we have the main here, right? So this is the main which we're given. So this information we're given this information. Yeah, so this information we're given. So now our task is to create a class which is called our reminder task. So let me create a class here. So let me create a class now. So I'm going to here to make it public, and then it's a class, and then what's the name of the class? It's called a remainder task. Cool. It's a remainder task, which is here. So here we can see that over the class, which is a remainder task here. Okay. So what you're going to do first, we know that whenever you're talking about this class, the first thing is we are doing about them. So the first thing we're doing about the threads. So first thing we should know is that this class, it has to implement something. What does it have to implement this class? Because you're working on the threads, it should explain implements runnable. Yes, for this class. Oh, sorry, it should implements runnable, right? So this is the first part. So we're done with this one. So after this one, now what you have to do, we know that when you're writing, you should have a constructor. And then what did they say about the constructor? They said something. They said the constructor should have something. You can assume that all the relevant packages have been imported. Given the main class provides the code for the class code remainder that must print the remainder text to the standard output stream as a fixed. You should know standard output stream is just printing on the console as a fixed intervals at a certain number of times. The remainder text interval and the number are set in the constructor. So this is what you have to do in the constructor. You see, this is what you have to do. We have the guideline. We know what you have to do in the constructor. So let's go forward. So I'm just going to declare my variables here. Let me just, because we are talking about a string here, because it should output as a string, because you can see that you've got string here. Start your exam. So this, we need the string which is going to hold something of this, right? We also need an integer which is going to hold something of this and something of this. So let's declare these three guys here, because you can see that our constructor is going to have this one. So I'm going to declare three variables here. The first one is a string. Let me call my string remainder. So this is a string, and we know that we've got integers. Let's have an integer here, and then we are talking about the intervals. Remember, you're talking about the intervals. So let's have an integer for interval. And another one. If just give me one more minute. All right. Sorry, guys. Then we've got remainder text. We've got interval times. Now let's have a constructor now. Let's now have a constructor here. So what is our constructor going to have here? What is our constructor going to have here? It's very straightforward here. They said must print this one, and then text interval and number of times are set in the constructor. So let's set this one in the constructor. So let's create a constructor and give three parameters, which is remainder text, interval, and times. Okay, cool. So let's come here. Let's create a constructor here. So we are creating our constructor here. All right, so this is our constructor. What we're going to add in our constructor, we are going to add a string, and then what is this string is going to be for? You can just have there are a lot of ways of doing this. Let's just use different ways here. Let's use the same name, but remember, once you use the same name, int, and then with interval, with the last one int, with times. Yes. So this is our constructor. So this is our constructor. After having a constructor, what should be in the constructor here? Now you can see that we use the same keywords here, so we have to use the keyword this because we are referring to, we have got this remainder text and remainder text this one. So if you don't need to have too much work, you know, you can use something different. For example, you can just decide to use I here, and then obviously when you use something like I here, you just have to say I equals to interval because you're using something different here. But for me, I'm using the same keyword, which is this. So you have to say this time here. Then after that, we say this times equals to times because we're referring to this time as an integer. So we're done with the constructor here. How many marks are these ones? These are 10 marks. So these are a whole 10 marks. So now you have the constructor. Now what you have to do now, we have to now start the printing because they say it must print the remainder text to the standard up to string as a fixed interval on a certain number of times. So this is the part now you have to do. This one, we have done this part. Creating a class, we avoid creating a class. So you can see that we are almost there. We're only left with this part. Right. Let's carry on and finish. Let me zoom a little bit so that everyone could see from that side. Yeah, let me zoom something like this so that everyone can see. All right, we're done here. We're done creating our constructor. Now, let's have another method, right? Going to call public void. We're talking about running stuff. So let me just decide to use name which doesn't need more explanation. So if I use the keyword run for my method because we know that you want to continue running and printing something, so I decide to call my class right. But before we go further, I think I forgot something here, which is override. Which is override. Is override. So before we have a class here, whenever you're working on something like this, we should know that whenever working in threads, you should know that the class, one thing you should know, you should memorize, is the implements runnable. This one, and it comes with something like 2 marks. Just for this one, it comes with 2 marks because you have to implement the runnable. It's something which you have to know. This one, in the memo, it was like 1 mark here. It was just 1 mark here, and then obviously this one, it also come with maybe something here. It also comes with another mark, something like this. Come with like 1 mark because it's just it override. And then now, for just showing, do something like this. This is like another mark again. And then after that, now we have to do for threads. So we can have something like for int x equals to, let's start on 0. For int x equals to 0, x less than ems, right? X plus plus, and then after this, then we have thread here. So what you have to know, you have thread here, so you can have after this one, what do you need to do on the times? You have to have, you need to display something, so you can have system.out line, and then what you are going to print here, you are going to print remainder text, which is study exam. So this is the text you're going to print here. And then after printing this text, we can see that the thread has to sleep at the certain intervals because they said must print remainder text the standard output as a fixed interval a certain number of times. So when you're done printing, what should you do? Let's make our thread to sleep here. So let's just save something like here thread. Okay, it's fine. So here let's have thread. Let's make our thread to sleep here. So we can have something like thread dot sleep, and then it has to sleep. When does it the thread has to sleep here? It has to sleep on the certain intervals, because you print your information, you made the thread to sleep, you print, you made the thread to sleep. So the thread has to sleep on the certain interval so that it will display information each and every certain number of intervals, which are this one. So it will sleep after 500 milliseconds, because remember, whenever you're talking about the threads, you're talking about the milliseconds. So it will sleep after 500 milliseconds here. So the thread will sleep, and then after that, they need to print. So the reason for sleeping is that the thread, the way it will be displaying, how long it's going to display, or it will going to display after certain number of minutes or seconds, which is 500 milliseconds here. All right, I can see there are messages. Let me quickly attend the messages before we proceed. Public string, okay, string. Oh, Spanda already gave us everything. It override, run system printer override. Oh, it's supposed to run using, no, it's looping using times, and the intervals are for sleeping at KP Pato. Yeah, sorry for misspelling your name. Okay, so you say the loop isn't supposed to loop using interval. No, the loop is looping using times, and it's using intervals to sleep on the certain intervals. Yes, thanks, Masondo. You said I should try cache. Thank you very much. Whenever you're working with threads, you have to know that you have to cache and try. So let's here add our block here, our try cache block here. So let me indent this one. So let's have a try. Yeah, try. This is the only difference between Java and C++. On the C++, most of the things don't have to catch the exception and everything, which is a little bit different from when you're working with Java. Okay, so you've got the try. This is what you have to try. Then you do this one, and then after the try, now you have to catch. Let me not consume too much space so that you can see everything what you're doing here. Now you have to catch. Which exception do you think you can catch here? What do you think you can catch here? Which is the best to catch here? All right, I'm just trying to remove the spaces so that you can see the whole class. I'm waiting to hear the interruption. Yes, interrupted exception. Yes, that's very correct. So you have to cache this one. Interrupted exception. So we cache this one, and we have something like E. Then after that, we say A dot then you have something like this after when you cache. Yeah. So you just have to know print state trace is for example, when you get an exception, it's going to print state trace to trace you back where the error came from and what happened, which made you not to get the correct answer. That's the reason why we have to have print state trace. That's the use. So this was everything which they wanted us to do. So let's just quickly see if you have answered the whole question. So they said, remember, given the main provided code for this class, we created this class. We must print the remainder text to the standard output. We printed the class. We managed to do the print at fixed intervals and managed to do the fixed intervals at CK pato. You see that the intervals is for printing after certain intervals at a certain number of times. So we loop using times and we print on the certain intervals at CK pattern. And then the remainder text intervals and the number of times are set in the constructor. So we managed to set this on the constructor. So let's just quickly go and see where the marks are coming from. So this was 2 marks here, 1 mark here, 1 mark here. So it's 4 marks, and then another 1 mark here. And obviously a for loop is another one here. And then the trackage block with another one here. And then the intervals showing that you know that is going to be on the intervals, another one here. And then here, another one here. And then for caching, know which one you have to cache. What's another one mark here. So these are 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus 2, 10. So this way all the marks are coming from. Are we all happy? Let me go to the text box. You need to get the error with consideration to what your intention is. Oh, okay, Spanda. You have to cache. Yes, thank you for answering. File not found, we are not working on. Why not cache file? We are not working on the files. But the only best thing you can do at ZD, can't pronounce the name, is, for example, if you see that you don't know which error to cache, try to use this one. You try to get this one exception. So this one is like most of the times you cache nearly all the errors. So, but it's not specific. It's just like an umbrella for caching the exceptions. So it's actually another good way of doing it. But on this question, I'm sure maybe if you were to just use that one, you're going to be awarded half mark. Maybe, for example, if you could say you don't know which one, then you get something like this. Maybe you're going to be awarded half mark or off mark depending on how they are marking your paper. So that's what you can do. File exception is specifically for files. This one is specifically for what you're working on here. Okay, in another convention, I would call it exception error. Oh, thank you very much. Yes, exception error, because it just catches all the errors. It's an umbrella for errors. Okay, cool. Let's go to the last question. Then after that, we stop the recording. Then I give you guys time to ask. So let's go to the last question, which was question 6. On the question 6, we're not going to do something too much because it's not basically it's going to come like this. The only cheat code I can give you is go and revise classes which you feel like they're going to be asked about this kind of information, which are, for example, data input stream, data output stream, serializable class. All those classes I went through. Go through those classes, which is topic lesson 9 or lesson 10, I forgot. It should be 9. And then claim all those ones. Don't claim, know how to do it. And then one of them will come. It's not basically it's going to be exactly the same as this one. Okay, but it's fine. Let's go through this one. Okay, so this one was fill in the code and a whole 10 marks for filling in the code. All right, you can hear the messages here. In another conversion, I'll call it. Okay. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Public class object, public static boolean validate. So yeah, we are validating here. It's about basically patterns here. So now what we need to do, we need to see the kind of the pattern we're going to have here. So basically, okay, so where is the first question? Yeah, okay. So this was our paper. Read the code below and fill the missing code in the segment A to I. Write down the letter to the correct answer next to it, e.g. K equals to quick. Okay, so let's have the first one. So pattern equals to pattern. So what is the missing code here? We say pattern dot pattern dot what do you say here? What's the missing code here? What's the missing word here? I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to write just next to each and every question. So yeah, the missing was compile. Yes, that's very correct. So here the missing code was the missing. I'm just going to write A because I'm going to write haphazard here. Combine. Combine, yes. And then we go to B, return dot matches. What do we have to return here on the B? Measure. Yes, that's correct. You return measure. Thank you. Then B, what you're supposed to return here is a measure. That's good. And then we go to the next question, which was C with, okay, so then you have the whole information here, file, then open the file. If file exists, then return items, try scanner equals to new dash, what you have to have here on C, scanner equals to new scanner file. Yes, it's a new scanner. Good. So scanner equals to new scanner. We already have the file, so I'm just going to call it scanner because we already have the file. It Mzela, something like that. It's just a scanner because we already have the new in the file, so it's just a scanner, like what Maho and Happy said to us. Okay, cool. Let's go to the next one. So we have a D. Well, dash then read or object. So what is D here? Why what? Remember, you're reading a line, each and every line in the file. So you're checking while I'm waiting for an answer. Wow is next. Yes, perfect. Wow, it is next because you're keeping on checking. Wow is next. Wow is next. Then you read. Then if now want to validate, what do you say here? If we are talking about data object and everything, so what do you have to say on E is indeed part of our scope. Remember, isn't it this part of our scope? This one can come because remember, we already did this. Remember, it's not basically what exactly they have to ask you. Remember when you're doing semester test 2 at MYI small, you have something like this. That's why I said from the beginning, it's not basically this class which you have to know. It's about those kind of classes I told you, because the fill in code you have to fill in based on what you got. So it's not basically this code or this other code. I don't know which one is going to be there. Say the method online to call the correct way to process a potential file not found exception. Okay, it's fine. I'm going there to learn 12. No, I didn't get your question. Okay, it's fine. I'll come back to your question at the end of the class. Okay, E. Let's go to E. So on the E, what do you have to validate? You are talking about the data object. So the E is just data object. So this is your E. Let me call it E. So this is your E here. E here. And then let's go to F. F is saying string tokenizer equals to string tokenizer. What are we talking about here on F? I'm waiting for answer here, because now we want to make tokens of what here, because you've got this one string line says next. So we are making string tokenizers of lines here. We are tokenizing our line. So it's a string tokenizer of line. So F is line here. Line. Okay, thank you. Let's go to the next one. FG int number. Then you're talking about the tokens. So now we already have the tokens now. We are talking about the integers. What do you have to do when they are integers here? And if you want to get the tokens for the integers, what's the answer here? I'm waiting for the answer here. Phase in, yes, that's very correct. Just you have to give me the whole information, which is integer, which is integer dot phase in something like this. So this is for this part, and then already have the G, which is here 2 marks, and then we have the H. Then after that, and then catch, which now do you have to catch now? There was someone who was asking about the file. Now that's where you have to catch your file. Who has talked about the file not found exception, ZD. That's why now you have to talk about the file. Now what you are catching now is now the file not found exception. Now your answer comes here now. this is where your answer comes from here. We are now handling problem because you are talking about the file. You are opening a file, you are reading from a file, and then you are making tokens on the file which you are opening here. So ZD, this is where now your answer come here. You can now give us your answer now. File not found exception. This is where now your answer comes here. You have to print file, you have to handle file not accept, file not found exception. And then finally what you have to do here, finally we have to return. Thank you. We have to return because remember we are talking about the class of arrays. Now we have to return. You see, the answer is here. You see, they are telling us that it's an array list of data objects. So at the end of everything, now you have to return the array list of items. So now you have to return at the end. Now you have to return, which is our I. Yeah. Now you have to return. So yeah, that's all what we have for this fill-in question. So go and practice something different, or go and redo this one, or practice something different in preparation for your semester test. All right, guys, that's all what I have for you today. I'm going to stop the recording, then I'll give you the time for the question. So before I stop the recording, now let me just quickly go through the wallpaper map in case you missed something. So first question was graphical user interfaces. Second was about the binary input output stream, advanced Java programming, and then design patterns. And I told you that you have to know all the design patterns and everything. And then we have the code where you have to write the code on your own. And then finally we had a fill in code. Okay. And then we fill in the code together, and the code which you're supposed to write, we write it together here. And we know that you have to implement the runables. We have to do what they told us, how the constructor is going to look like, and you have to override. Not forgetting you have to create another method of the run, and you have to include try and the catch block, and at the end you have to catch the exceptions. All right, it's fine. That's all for this one. I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'll give you 15 minutes to ask what you want to ask.